Check, check. Can everybody hear?
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
yeah.
Yep.
All right. Everybody sound good? You can hear yourself, right?
Yep.
Okay, hear yourself, hear
Yeah.
myself.
Yep.
And we're live.
Welcome to the Big Hammock Podcast, episode 6. This is the first night after the premiere of the Big Hammock movie. Great night last night, gentlemen. Again, we have with us director Malcolm Sear, producer Travis Cecil, and the main actor of the movie, Damon Vitale. I almost said Vitale.
Yeah.
like
I've been called worse.
What was the Family Matters? He's like Luné. It's French.
Yeah.
The night last night, 300 people sold out.
Ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
I just want to say I was blown away by the turnout, and I think that we have to start this out by saying thank you to everybody that came.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Big thank you.
100%. How it turned out.
That was
Yeah.
a lot of love.
Yeah.
A lot
Yeah.
of love.
For sure.
What did you think about 300 people, Malcolm?
It's more than I thought we was going to get. I'm not going to lie. I thought
Yeah.
150 at the most. But 300, it's double what I thought. I didn't think we was going to get that many. And it came at the last minute. It was like the last 2 days. It was like every hour we was like ticket sales.
I remember we were at the Shuckin' Shack, and you looked over at me in front of everybody. You said, "Zach, we are sold out."
Sold out.
Wow.
Yeah.
And everybody started,
Crazy.
woo!
Right.
And then
Crazy.
Damon, while everybody was in line, I came up to you. I said, 300 people, Damon.
Yeah. I got choked up a little bit about it.
Did
I
it?
couldn't believe it. I could not believe it.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody really understood, like, I guess, like how big it was gonna get. Like, I think we all have our own like small support groups. You know,
Yeah.
like maybe 5-6 people here, 5-6 people there. But I just think the word of mouth just kept going and kept going. And as we was doing the podcast, I
Yeah.
really do think the podcast had a little something to do with it,
I do.
because as they're actually watching us talk about it and like how serious we are about it, I think it
Right.
kind of built the momentum up as far as like, they had to go through this. Malcolm didn't even know how to turn the camera on. We got to go see this.
Right. What?
Bro, I had someone recognize me. Like right after I got interviewed, and then I was walking back to come make sure you was okay. There's one guy, that's a guy from episode 1. And I'm
Really?
like, dude, you seen it?
So-
And he was like, yeah, we've watched them all.
Right.
Don't know who this kid is, who he was. I was shaking his hand. I was like, thank you, bro.
Right. I think
Yeah.
that's kind of it, built off of the trailers, right?
Yeah.
And off
Yeah.
of just us keep posting and
Yeah.
posting and posting. And then I think it was like once the episode started dropping, and I think what really helped, like even like I've had a few people say Damon didn't see any of it until it
No.
dropped.
Yeah.
I was like, no, he didn't see any of
Yeah.
it. So that was his
No.
first time.
Yeah, well, I do want to, let's go back to what you were talking about, everybody showing up. You know, the one thing that we all echoed through the entire trailer is we gave praise to Malcolm about how great of a guy you were. And you just literally called people up and said, hey, I got a favor. I'm not going to pay you, but I'm shooting this film. And, if you're thirsty, bring your own water. And if you're hungry, bring your own food. Like, you're going to have a great time. You're going to go out in the
That was
Florida
good on the credits.
in the
by
middle
way.
of the summer.
Yeah, that is-
Right.
That was-
middle of the summer.
That was the biggest compliment I got at work.
Right.
People were like laughing through the whole entire credit roll, and when it got to that catering, there was none. Bro,
Yeah.
they're just looking at me like you. I was like, no, it was good.
It was
good.
funny.
Yeah, this is great stuff. But you called everybody up for a favor, right? So everybody, I said you could feel the love tonight, and that's what everybody did. Everybody loved you, and they knew you had a dream, and it started perpetuating from there. And the trailer rolled out, and they said, "Man, this is really freaking cool."
Yeah.
And they just carried that over into supporting you, in the theater itself, and sitting in the seat and watching the film.
Right.
And it was amazing. It was the IMAX theater at Epic Theaters, and in Ocala, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, I think what helped us, this helped us. Is people's expectations were really low.
Right.
So
right.
it's like
Right.
they have this image in their head, like, okay, we're going to just support. Yeah, the podcast was cool. All right, we really got to see this now, because we're talking about all the faults and stress
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
hard work that went into it, right?
Yeah.
And not knowing certain things. And I think that really stuck, and they're like, "Oh, we definitely got like we're gonna go watch this, and it's gonna be down here."
Yeah.
And I think once they saw the final product, I think that's what really got them to where they're like, "I had it, the honesty came out." They was like,
Yeah.
"I'm not gonna like." They went in stressing that they're gonna have to lie to our faces. I
Right.
think is what
Right.
happened.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Their own guilt of knowing how bad they were going to lie caused them to go, "Yeah, I'm serious. It was great." Yeah. Right.
Like
They
they
overcompensated.
they
a little bit,
overcompensated
right.
because they was like, I can't tell you how the same people like, dude, I'm not gonna lie, man.
Right.
I was like, I did not expect it to be that
Right,
good. So
right.
it was like, it definitely made me realize like, dude, they was prepared. They probably practiced the speech in the mirror. Like,
Right.
it was a good job, guys.
Right,
Very
right.
creative. You
Yeah.
know, you could tell y'all put some hard work into it. Like, no, they was just blown away.
Everybody
Mhm.
was like
Yeah.
that.
They
And we
were-
talked about that. If everybody said, "No, you did a really good job and we're really proud of you."
Right, right,
Oh, just, let us know when you want to do the next one. Sure. Yeah.
right, right.
Like no one had that monotone,
No.
fake praise.
Right,
because
right.
They didn't want to hurt your feelings.
Like, good job, guys.
Everybody was just like, listen,
Yes.
listen,
Yes.
this is amazing.
Way
Right.
better than I thought.
Yeah.
It was electricity, bro.
Oh, for
That's
sure.
what you felt through the whole night. Like I didn't
Yeah.
even watch the movie. I watched the people,
Yeah.
and I was listening to the reactions, and it just sitting there. I thrived off that energy that I got
Yeah.
from the crowd. Like it was just like this is like true love right
You
now.
didn't watch the movie?
No, not this time. Not
Pro-
this time.
Probably because all the times you watched it before.
Oh,
I
yeah,
thought you were
yeah.
in the back. You were in the back. Weren't
Yeah,
you?
I was all the way in the back
Yeah,
row watching
I was with
everybody.
you were in between me and
Yeah,
Damon.
yeah. Yeah.
Some of us, some of us hadn't watched it yet.
Editor benefits.
I started this podcast asking you a question about how this movie ranked amongst other projects that you've done. The turnout of the premiere, like you've done been involved with a lot of independent films.
Yeah.
You've been involved with this wasn't your first red carpet event.
Mm-mm.
Was this? I just need to know because this is my first one. Was
Yeah.
this as the best as it gets? Like
This is going, and I hate to say it's my second favorite premiere because I got two that runs back to
Mhm.
back. First time when Signal Loss come out, you read the papers, John Travolta's premiering.
Yep.
We all kind of get bummed out. We're like, no one's coming to see our film. John Travolta's there, all this stuff. We show up, there's lines around the corner, and we was like, we knew it. It's not going to happen. And then all of a sudden we find out, like, they're all here to see our film. Like, they left John Travolta's premiere, and then word got back to him. He talked with his wife. They all left. They came and was up in the balcony. So right there, number one, blew away from that.
That's
Whether
cool.
the movie was good, bad, or whatever people like, they liked it, they hated it, whatever. That experience, it'll never go away from my mind.
Yeah.
And then it compared to last night, and it was like that love, that spark. It is so hard to describe, just the emotions that go through, and it's right there, neck and neck.
Yeah.
Like-
I was blown away with the energy that was going throughout that movie theater.
And then people not wanting to leave, they stayed in the lobbies.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
They were just
Yeah.
hanging around. And
Yeah.
even when Malcolm was taking the tickets in the very beginning, like I kept
Right.
peeking around the wall, and I was like, this lobby's just getting bigger and bigger. And then you see lines outside the door.
Well,
I had people calling me, and they was like, do we really got to stand in line? I was like, yeah, man, you're not skipping anybody. Like, you could have to wait your turn.
Yeah, there were so many people coming in, like down to the last minute.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
literally down to the last
Yeah.
minute. I didn't even get to go in there.
Yeah.
I missed like the first, I don't know, 4 minutes
Right.
of the film.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
There was
dang.
people sitting in the stairwell
Yeah,
watching the
I was
film.
one of
Yeah,
them.
we were
I didn't have a seat.
we were telling each other like, okay, I'm leaving in 5 minutes, bro. I'm leaving in 5 minutes. We're going to sit down. Okay, see you later.
Yeah, I get in there and there's only one seat on the outside, and that was next to your brother, actually, Zach. And I made my wife sit down, and I was like, she's like, I'm not gonna sit down without you. I'm like, I'm sitting right here on the steps. Like, I'm not worried about this.
Yeah.
I want everybody else to enjoy it. I've watched this thing a million times.
Yeah,
you know?
and even at the end of the movie, everybody stayed.
Yeah.
And we had the
Yeah.
raffle. We raffled
Yes.
everything off, and people were still staying.
Right.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, they
Malcolm,
didn't
Malcolm
wanna
had to
leave.
come up and tell everybody, "Hey, listen, thanks for coming out. You got to go home now."
Like we're packing everything up. Like, I'm getting out of
Hey,
here.
we're rolling up the banner and everything.
My pregnant wife is starving. I gotta take her to get some food, or
Right.
this premiere don't mean nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
There was one guy, me and my wife was walking out after we was clearing everything out of the theater, and he was like all bummed out and everything. He's like, "Bro, I don't know what was going on in your room." He was like, "This movie I'm at wasn't it. We should have been to you." And I
Yeah.
was like, "You should have came, bro.
So
You had your chance."
the manager lady, I guess, was telling, I think it was Chaz. I believe it was Chaz that even on the opening night of like some bigger blockbusters, they've never had that many people in the lobby,
Oh, crazy.
in the
Yeah.
theater at one time.
Amazing.
And I can only imagine. I almost want to just like be nosy and be like, "What did y'all make on popcorn and like concession?"
Right.
Because like,
I know
They-
I got mine.
Yeah.
Right.
That was a
Oh,
goal
yeah.
of mine.
Yeah.
To sit back and watch
Yeah.
that movie with some
Yeah.
popcorn. I did it.
Yeah.
Well, here's the crazy thing: an independent film went up against Final Destination,
yeah,
and you outsold them. Like
On opening night.
Yeah, we peeped in.
right.
Like there was hardly
Wow.
anybody in there.
Wasn't
They
no
was
in-
all in on.
So and I, like when I was accepting the tickets too.
Yeah.
This is funny because everybody was just flooding in, and this like one couple came up, and she like showed me her ticket on her phone. I'm like, "You got a digital ticket?" She's like, "Yeah." She showed me. I'm like, "All right." And then I go grab the physical ticket or what, and then I pause. I'm like, "Wait a minute, that said Sinners." I was like, "Yeah, you don't have to wait in this line." Like this poor girl done sat in this line for a long
Oh,
time, and it wasn't even for
yeah.
our movie. She could have just
Oh, wow.
went to the
Yeah.
other ticket
Dang.
booth.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh yeah, this is wrong with this is for the Big Hammock." She's like, "Yeah, I'm here to watch Sinners." I was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah,
Oh, well.
well."
Should have came to watch Big
Enjoy-
Hammock.
Enjoy the show. Enjoy the show.
Buy a Blu-ray.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
so-
got DVDs and Blu Rays right here.
So yeah, it was definitely bigger than I thought it was gonna be, especially at the last minute, the pre-party, and then the tickets just kept rolling. Man, it was like every 5 minutes I was getting notification.
Yeah.
2 more tickets, 2 more tickets, 2 more tickets. And it was pretty cool too because there was people that showed up last minute,
Mhm.
and they also still got to watch it because shout out to my cousin Matt. He is in Virginia. He's in DC, not even here. He
Right.
bought 5 tickets
Uh-huh.
because he saw the post that we only had 12
Right,
tickets left,
right.
and he wanted to help like sell it out.
Wow.
And he said he's like, "Man, if you want to, you could just give them away." So there was people that showed up like at the
Yeah.
last
Oh,
minute,
man.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
so we got our tickets, but they kind of come along and da. So I was
Yeah.
like, "All right, I got you one,"
Yeah.
Dang.
So it was pretty cool, because I'm gonna give him his money back.
Yeah.
I was like, "Look, man, you're buying 5 tickets to a show you ain't even gonna make it
Right,
to."
right.
But so
You're in the
it was
you're in
pretty
the power minute. It'd be $40 a ticket.
We,
he loses focus way too
Yeah, I
much. He's
love
still
that.
living in the moment from
Right,
last night.
yeah.
Right.
You
It's
are
okay.
the host.
Hey, he's watching the podcast.
You are the host.
You're the host, bro.
Yeah.
Right.
It's okay to be a fan of your own work.
It's like this. Who's driving? I thought you was driving. You're not driving. Who's driving this thing?
oh, I'm the host of this thing. Oh, okay. Yeah. So
Man.
question it up.
It's not live on YouTube
He's
yet.
got his legs crossed, smoking a cigarette, like he's watching the show over here.
all right. All right. I wanted to talk about these things in order. I want to talk about the movie.
Okay.
So,
Talking to the mic.
God,
All
this
right.
guy.
So I want to talk about the
right.
movie.
Yes, sir.
Damon, this is your first time watching a movie.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
If you hear somebody clapping and ha 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 super loud, that was me. Like, who's this idiot?
I think it was everybody.
I was leaning forward in my chair a couple times because
Yeah.
it was intense. It was drama. There was comedy relief. The musical score, of course, was all. I didn't know this until last night. Everything in the entire movie is all tracked, all made in house. It's not-
Correct.
Yeah.
we didn't steal anything.
Yeah.
and it just shows the talent. And there's a certain point in the movie where I think the music was the #1 seller in creating the drama about what was to happen.
Yeah.
You know, it was slow. It
Yeah.
was
Shout out
intense,
to
it was
Jake
deliberate.
on that
Yeah,
one,
Yeah,
it was
big
absolutely
kudos,
yeah.
phenomenal. And I
kudos.
told him that,
Yeah.
and fantastic,
Yeah.
fantastic. I was fanboying, you know, the whole time. Um, the fact that you had to remind yourself 3 or 4 times, like these are all, you know, this is their first time ever doing this, ever. And the way it looked, they told a story and they told it masterfully.
There was I when it started, the energy from outside continued inside.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You could feel it.
And just everybody cheering for names coming on the screen, and then it went into the movie, and you could tell we had everybody in the movie. We talked about these things all week, right? Like people laughing at the comedy, people, and being drawn into the movie. There's a couple times where I was stretched back in that recliner,
Yeah.
and I realized that I was sucked into the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm like legitimately just sitting
Yeah.
back in my chair, and I snap out of it and lean forward and look,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and everybody's doing the same thing.
Yeah.
They
Mhm.
were sucked into the movie,
Yeah.
and I was like, got him.
Chaz sat next to me.
Yeah.
And about 3 or 4 times, I'm hitting Chaz, and I'm like, "Can you believe this?" Right? The way it portrayed
Mhm.
out on the screen. I
Mhm.
said, "This is fantastic." Right?
Yeah.
He goes, "I know."
Yeah.
We
Right.
saw the movie.
So you got lost into the story, is what you're saying?
I did. Yeah,
Yeah,
I got
nice.
lost into the story.
Mhm.
Kind of like you did in the podcast a minute ago.
So
Easy to do.
I did though, but I
Apparently.
mean, this is guys. This is my first time ever
Yeah.
being involved in any of this, and I've
Right.
had so much fun. And
Right.
it was. We talked about. We speculated. We promoted the heck out of this
Yeah.
movie all week
Yeah.
long. We worked our butts off for 2 years getting this thing completed, and it's one thing to talk about it and imagine it,
Mhm.
but to actually see it take place,
Yeah.
I mean, you can't even compare what that's like.
Yeah.
And watching that movie with everybody
Mhm.
and seeing everybody's response, we, again, I was talking about filming it. We would cut, and I would bust out laughing because I couldn't
Right.
believe we were pulling this thing off.
Yeah.
And so now we're in it. It's
Yeah.
right here before us.
Yeah.
Like we pulled this thing off.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
like,
Right.
and it was just
Right.
again the comedy. You worry about these things.
Mhm.
Are we just laughing at ourselves?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
Right.
and we weren't. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was
Right.
it was a
Right.
funny movie.
Yeah,
You know.
And that's a good point to bring up. So like there was quite a few people that was just like that know us, and they're like, I can't believe like when I was watching it how good the acting actually was. Like they was like they wasn't seeing Ward Wayne on the screen. They
Yeah.
wasn't seeing
Right.
Zach on the screen. Like they was seeing the characters,
Yeah.
and they're
They
like
weren't seeing Damon on the
Yeah.
screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
They
They were
wasn't
seeing
seeing
Ward-
they was
yeah.
seeing Warren Wayne. That's
Yeah.
what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you are Warden Wayne.
Here we go. You did good job. Thanks.
No, that's what I meant. Like they're
Good
not
job,
seeing
Damon.
Damon, they're not seeing Zach. Right. Warden Wayne, Dame.
stand over there.
Uh,
It's the same thing.
I didn't realize this. I was so caught up in the moment. My mom was my #1 biggest fan, but she was telling me after the movie was over, somebody in the front turned around and looked at me and yelled across the theater, "Dale!"
Yeah. That's awesome. That's
Yeah, it was definitely something special for me. I
Yeah.
mean, and Damon, I know it was for you
Yeah.
not seeing it. We had all had conversations ourselves,
Yeah.
and you were on the edge of your seat,
Yeah.
ready to go, and to see your response to that really was another
Right,
highlight
yeah.
of my
He
night.
held it. He held it the whole
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
I saw. You want to see yourself? You want to grade it? Okay. Here's you getting out of the truck. Okay, that's it. No more. Take care, everybody. Like he didn't show me anything.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And we did the podcast the other day or yesterday, and we finished the podcast, and he says, "Hey, you want to see the bloopers?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'd love to see some of the movie that we had."
I'll show you all the parts that you messed up.
right, and it was actually pretty good.
Nice.
So I got a question on that too. Like, as far as you seeing it and you not knowing what to expect,
Mhm.
what was your expectations, and like how much above the expectation? Like, honestly, what was your expectations of what it was going to turn out compared to how you felt afterwards?
So I did not go in there with the grade in my head, thinking, "Okay, I'm going to grade this book. I'm going to read it and I'm going to grade it. I'm just going to watch it. If there's anything that's glaring that comes out, I'll see it."
Right.
Right? If it was an edit or whatever, and I saw more things that took me off guard in a good way, and I didn't see anything in a bad way,
Right.
Good.
in a sense, right? I even said
Right.
the tree transitions, bro. I that's all I said. The
Right.
transitions with the trees.
Yeah.
I see what you were doing there. He's
Yeah.
like, "Yeah," and there was one really good one, and I said, "Yes." I knew exactly what it was because I went, "Hey, that was smooth."
And it was like one perfect one.
Right.
Yeah,
They just
yeah.
come out like that. And
Yeah.
then that movie had a lot of that in it. And
Yeah.
of course, all of us that are involved in the movie, of course, I'm going to look at myself and say, "Did I tell the story like I wanted to tell it?" And I'm like, now I know why. Now I know why Lobo. Now-
Are we gonna just call each other by the character names? That's okay.
right now, I know why Malcolm is not showing me any of this. Right? Because there's some things where I say, I could have tweaked that a little bit better. I could have had more expression on my face. Things like that.
Yeah.
But those are things that I'm critical of.
Right.
When people say, "Hey, you told a story," and that's all it is.
And I think too, though, even though you're going to be critical of yourself, which I think most people are going to, like even like Smash. So I could have done this better. I feel like though, if I show everybody the daily, and they're going to be like, "Well, I could do that better," they're never going to do it good enough.
Mhm.
And
They're gonna do a mimic of themselves.
Well,
Yes.
what's going to happen is you end up overacting.
Right. I feel like you're going to
You're going to
overdo it.
overact the scene
Right,
because you think you
exactly.
can do it better. The camera's here now.
Right.
I was thinking about the camera before, but now it's my friend. Now I'm
Right.
going to overact to the camera. now.
Right. And it always reminds me, I've seen this interview with Matt Damon where he's talking about Clint Eastwood.
Mhm.
And he's like, he does a take, and Clint
Mhm.
Eastwood's like, "All right, that's a wrap. Let's move to the next one."
Mhm.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You don't want me to do another take?" And he's like, "Well, we can spend." I think it was Clint Eastwood
Yeah, no, you're correct.
He's like, we can spend another couple of hours doing another minute
Right.
for like 2 seconds, or
Right.
it's good enough. We can move to the other one and like
Yeah.
do something more. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So it was because he probably won't even use that take. Just like
Yeah.
if you keep trying to perfect it and I
Right.
already know. In all reality, I already seen the take I'm gonna use in my head. Like that's the
Right.
beauty of
Yep.
being the director, filming it, and gonna do the
Yeah.
edit. Right
Yeah.
now, I'm
Yeah.
not saying every time I was like that take I'm gonna use.
Yeah.
Now there was a few times I'm like, yeah, but this take is a lot better.
Yeah.
Like,
Or
you know.
or an actor answering the phone 6 different ways.
Yeah.
right,
You know,
right.
Hey, how's it going? Hello. Angry,
Right.
mad, sad,
Right.
perplexed, why, irritated.
Right.
To give you that freedom to say,
Right.
"Okay, you know what? I'm going to use that goodbye."
Which you
'cause that
did.
flows with. Yeah.
You did that a lot. You're like, let me try it this way. Let me try it, which was good because
Yeah.
there was a lot of times I was like, oh,
Right.
okay, well, the one I wanted to use, but this one is actually going to fit better.
There was
And-
one line that he used that I was practicing. Like in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
was
Yeah.
practicing.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So, yeah. And that's
I
another
caught
thing.
that.
There's another thing. I did it to you and I did it to you. I would just roll the camera and they wouldn't even know.
Yeah.
And they're just standing there either
That's
waiting
the
for
best
something to
way.
be set up or anything.
Yeah.
I did that to him when he was like, all right, let me, where's a, and I know what you're going to, cause honestly, when in the scene where he's like, and you're going to say, well, what's wrong with that? I'm the Bigfoot expert.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when he said, and you're going to say, what's wrong with that? He's telling me what to say so he can respond to it. And I just
Yeah.
used it. Like he's
Yeah.
so mad. He's talking to
Yes.
himself. He's like,
Yes.
and then, and then like
Yes.
you and Darren, when y'all was
Yeah.
just messing around having a good time, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna use that in
Man.
the flashback to really
Yeah.
show the because I feel like if I'd have said, hey, act like y'all have a good relationship,
Yeah.
you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I feel like it would have
Yeah.
seemed awkward.
Yeah,
But
it
like
wouldn't have come
catching you
off.
right, but
Mhm.
catching y'all actually in the moment,
Yeah.
being real brothers,
Yeah.
and like sharing them, having like a
Yeah.
goofy moment,
Yeah.
fun. I was like,
Yeah.
dude, that's gonna look so good when the flashback scene comes.
So I don't know if your listeners know this or your viewers know this. So in the flashback scene, I'm supposed to be a younger rookie cop. I had just started, and that's my actual brother in real life,
Right.
walking with me in the scene,
Right.
and which is good because it helps out later in that scene.
Right. Exactly. And that's the second time I used brothers
Yeah,
in the movie that are like partners.
Yeah.
Kind of. Well, the other brothers are actually brothers.
yeah,
So I did a lot of that.
yeah. You got any family
I was like,
that
look,
likes to work
we-
for
it's-
free, bring their own food,
and
bring
looks
your
like
own water,
you. Like,
middle of the heat?
I need you to look alike, and I don't have a budget to hire too many people. So can you just bring your brother to work day?
Right. Makeup? Yeah, bring your own.
So
Right.
Travis, throughout the night, I mean, it had to have been early. Was there a pivotal moment where you were like, okay, this is going to be a big thing?
Oh yeah, I could tell as soon as they started lining up. Like once I seen that lobby fill up, I was like, "Oh, dude, we got a winner. We got something going on here." Because I know a lot of people knew everybody. I'll say maybe a handful of people that I actually knew from everything that we've all done together. But I started seeing I was just like, who's this person? Who's that person? I had people sending me messages today. I have no idea who they was that said how
Right.
great the movie was. And
Yeah.
I was like, dude, thank you so much. Like it was just unbelievable. I couldn't believe it.
So as people was rolling in, what was your thoughts and your thoughts? What was your
Yeah.
thoughts as people were rolling in? Like what was going through your head?
When
Insanity.
I was thinking about you more than anything. So when people started rolling in, I was thinking you had said something. I hope my phone don't go dead because he was using his
Yeah.
phone to scan everything. I'm like, freaking Malcolm.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
Malcolm, you need help with your car?
Yeah.
Poor
Poor guy looks so overwhelmed.
I know.
Yeah, and,
I'm
and so he's taking all these things, but his phone is going dead.
Right.
But, and then the line goes out, and here's what's funny too, right? So I start to see this line back up, and I'm
Mhm.
seeing Malcolm do this stuff, right? Well, the way my wife and I had ordered tickets, we had initially bought 3. It was for me, her, and my daughter. Then she bought 2 more for her dad and her nephew, and her dad wasn't there yet. So I'm like, you know what? I'll just take your nephew in with my daughter. We'll get them all squared away, and then you can come in with your dad when he gets here.
Yeah.
Well, the line starts backing up. I'm already scanned in, and I said, "Go get in line. We'll just sneak him by when we get
Nice.
Well, the
Right.
scanning thing wasn't
Right.
working after
Yeah,
5.
yeah.
So,
It
so you
wasn't.
sat on the stairs when you watched it.
Yeah, I did. I lost the seat. You know? I mean, there was people like at the same time I'm trying to scan people in, then they're wanting to buy DVDs and Blu Rays.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They only have a card or whatever, and I'm trying to figure. So I had took 5 minutes trying to figure out how to send this guy a
5
link.
minutes before
Yeah.
the thing he's figured
Yes,
out.
bro, to do it right, and then it finally aggravated me enough where I was like, "Dude, sorry, if you don't have cash, I can't sell it to you."
Yeah.
And then
Right.
Well,
Chaz ended up figuring. Oh yeah, you
Yeah,
figured it
I
out.
preset it,
That's
and
what
I
it
was
was.
like, "Who am I sending it to, bro? I don't know."
I was
And
like, dude, he
I
left.
got it set
I was
up.
like, I already told him, but we don't with cash only. But then later on, Chaz ended up taking over and doing exactly what you was doing.
Yeah.
So he was catching people up. So I was like, because I was just at the point where man, I'm just trying to get people in. The time's running out. They're gonna be late because the line's so long.
Yeah, couldn't believe that you was doing all that all at once. I thought it was just going to be ticket sales after the movie sold,
That's
the
what I
Blu-rays
probably
and
should
all
have
that
done.
stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I was like, man.
Thanks for the advice.
Yeah, well,
Hey,
my bad. My
Hey.
bad.
but good on return investment.
Yeah.
You sold,
Yeah,
you
we-
sold quite a
So
bit.
yeah, we sold 44 DVDs and 21 Blu-rays.
Yeah.
Nice.
Very
So
good. Very good.
it was
Looks like I
about
got to get back to work.
yeah, you got to
Yeah, right.
I thought my slave days was over. Nope.
get back to work. brother.
The question was though, Damon, that you asked. I want to get back to that question about when did I realize it was. I think it was really when I saw the interviewer there
Yeah.
interviewing the cast on
Right.
the red
So
carpet.
real.
Right.
That was
Right.
really cool.
right.
And just seeing all of the cast come through there, answer questions. Again, that backdrop was sweet. The red
Yeah.
carpet
Yeah.
was sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never seen that before.
Right.
No.
So when I saw all that
Right.
happening, and then that's when I saw you, and I was like, 300 people, Damon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Speaking
even that day, you were talking about what we're all going to wear, and we didn't. I guess we didn't talk about what you were going to wear that night.
I look good, I thought.
You did. You did. Hey, that T-shirt was like $400.
Versace.
No, that's the cool part about the thing is that
Mhm.
you said, "Hey, I'm comfortable. This is who I am.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
not gonna portray that I'm somebody else."
Right,
Mhm.
right.
Yeah,
And-
we're
and it's
filmmakers,
great.
dude.
That's
Right, right,
Yeah.
right. Exactly.
I mean,
100%.
Smashing Drew was just dressed to the T. I thought. I mean,
Yeah.
they showed up. Drew's like, I just came straight from work,
yeah,
and I
Right.
think his shirt
Yeah.
said something like real funny on it, and I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, this is our night. We can dress however we
Right,
want, bro. I am
right.
not worried about
and people
that.
don't realize that.
Yeah.
We
Right.
have jobs.
Right.
This is
Mhm.
something.
Yeah.
For
This
sure.
was no money.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely no money.
You didn't get
Some of
residuals?
us it cost money, but
Oh,
no, because
so
it was fun.
somebody asked me, so how did y'all get how did you get the wardrobes? You didn't have any budget. How'd you get the wardrobes? I said,
right.
everybody had to buy their own.
Right.
I was like,
Hey, bro,
not only do I
exactly.
want you to act in my movie for free, feed
Yeah.
yourself, bring your own drinks, but
Yeah.
can you buy your costumes?
Yeah. It's love, man. Nothing but love, brother.
too? Well, I
Yeah.
think that was
Sometimes
the beauty.
you gotta do that.
Well, I think that was the beauty. That's what people don't understand is it was such a collaborative effort. Like that's why, a lot of people are always like, Malcolm, but it's like, dude, without everybody pitching in what they pitched in,
Yeah.
there's no way it would have been as authentic as it was, bro.
Yeah.
Because you seen the uniform we had lined up for you, and you're like, I'll buy my own. Like,
Damn.
like
How bad was it?
It just didn't fit.
So,
make it work.
Yeah.
So I just checked my notes because I wanted to make sure I kept this thing flowing, and
mhm.
I came up with my next question.
All right.
On
On the spot.
On the spot. This is what I want to know from you, Malcolm.
Mhm.
What was the biggest save you had to make during production?
The biggest save during the make of the production while filming it,
Mm-hmm.
the time.
The time.
The time.
Elaborate, and then I'm going to tell you mine.
So I think once we had everything done, and as far as the main shot list, right? We filmed like the main thing that we wanted to film. I realized that it was because I had trimmed so much up trying to keep it tight. It wasn't long enough for me. And not only was it not long enough for me, there was some exposition that I had to cut out of some scenes because I wasn't comfortable with the delivery of it. And that's not the actor's fault. That was my fault for not structuring and directing the scene the way it should have went.
That is a bigger save than I was going to bring up.
Well,
Yeah.
it was just, it wasn't, I didn't do my part as far as making sure the exposition was delivered in a way that it should have been delivered. And
I thought we did a good job overcoming that, though.
yeah, I think
like,
we found
I
a
don't
way.
like So Damon, you,
Mhm.
I want to say it was you. It might have been you, Travis. We all talked after these podcasts and before these podcasts, and somebody said we're gonna know at the end of the movie if everybody just gets up and leaves,
Mhm.
and the credits started rolling
Mm-hmm.
and everybody was still sitting down.
Yeah. Yeah, they stayed,
Um,
laughed.
A
and
few
watched
people
it.
actually stood up,
Yeah.
turned around, and then clapped to the upper deck where we were all sitting.
Yes. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
noticed that too.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it the time that you talk about, right? You were able to add back to it. You were able to get time from somewhere else.
Mhm.
But it again, we nailed the time as far as people were good with it.
Yeah.
Right.
They weren't,
Right.
they weren't, oh, I gotta go, I'm ready for this thing to be over. And it wasn't overly like, oh, we want more. Like
Right.
it was
Mhm.
just
It's not a 3-hour film.
Yeah.
correct.
Right.
Yeah.
It was
Right.
good.
No, it was perfect pacing.
Mhm.
Like
Yep.
every time I was watching through the edit and where Malcolm had everything, like the pacing was on point.
Mhm.
Like it didn't have to be. We don't have to be a Marvel movie. It doesn't
Right.
have to be a 2.5 hour thing. Movie. Like
Yeah.
he had start of the story, middle of the story, and then the perfect ending. So it's like everything was on point.
Well, I will give credit to the 5 people I had test screen the rough cut.
Yeah.
because there is one scene that was the longest scene in the movie.
Yeah.
And everybody agreed. Like every one of them came to me and was
Yeah.
like, we have to trim that down.
Yeah.
We have to trim that down. It's not even one of the main scenes that even sets anything up except for one little thing. And you can accomplish that in this amount of time. And that's where Zachary over here gets a editing credit because he come over here. Because in my mind, I'm thinking time. And I trimmed everything out, right? So this part, I'm thinking, man, I got to kind of let this one run a little bit because, and Zach's like, I'll come over with you. I'll tell you what he's taking over the production. I'll tell you where it needs to be cut. He
There you
said,
go. Put that producer hat on.
That pompous actor. I tell you that.
He's like, I'm a producer. I'll tell you where it needs to be cut. And he did. He's like, you can cut it here. All right, cool. Start it back from here. Cut here. And I'm not going to lie. It was like, it gave it that sweet spot it needed to really jive and let it flow. I'm like, all right, bro. I'm not going to admit it, but it was a good job. I'm going to admit it now.
Did you put him in the credits?
No.
Never happened.
No,
Never
No,
happened.
I'm
I
with you,
did.
Damon.
But
I'm with you.
and
He wanted that editor credit.
He just left the producer credit to me. I know you're just a producer.
Right.
I clicked the buttons, okay?
Yeah.
He didn't click no
PA,
buttons.
But
pro-
embellish
producer
more on
alpha.
that, though. You got to embellish more on that because after you guys come up with where you're going to cut it, I seen it. We talked about the same thing. And then all of a sudden, the creativity that came out of, I know it was both of you guys that come up with the decision of how you were going to fix that scene without having to go back and reshoot. So, I mean, that's a story in its own right there.
Yeah, so we added an element to the movie that was not part of the script to kind of
That's what we surprised
Yeah.
Damon with.
Yeah.
He
Yes.
was like, I want to do this without telling anybody. I want everybody to be surprised with this movie, including the cast. And-
exactly what I said.
I was.
I was like,
and,
because this part that we're gonna do, it was actually only us three that
Yeah.
knew about
Yeah.
it. It was only us three. I was like,
Wow.
this part that we're gonna do,
Yeah.
it wasn't in the
is-
table read.
I'm sorry, Jake knew about it too.
Okay.
Obviously, he did
Yeah,
the
right.
sound
Yeah.
design. But it was it wasn't part of the script. I was like, I've got this idea. We're gonna have to use it to help set the exposition. And Zach was down. He's like, dude, all right. And I said, I don't want to tell nobody. I want them because they've read the script, right? All of y'all have read the script, the table reads. So I want something to surprise them.
And Damon is such a pro too, right? Because he, again, I read the whole script, is what he said on the other night, right? And so he comes up to me, he beelines to me across that back row, skips
Yeah.
over. He
Oh
goes,
yeah.
bro, you were holding out on me.
Yeah. You're the first person I wanted to find before the lights went up. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Oh yeah.
It was
I had to
fun.
look around. So, oh, there he is. Yep, yep. I was like, excuse me. People were trying to stand up. I'm like, sit down. I'm walking right over here. Yeah. You held out on me. I see you did fantastic.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. Because you don't see Zach on the screen.
Yeah.
You see his character on the screen.
Right,
And
100%.
that's
yeah.
what makes it good.
100%.
Oh yeah, I bought it
100%.
hook, line, and sinker, bro.
Yeah.
When I watched it after you started doing that assembly line, I was like, "This is your movie.
Yeah,
This
right.
is your opening."
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely set the tone. I think it kept the tone.
You know, I wanted to go back to when you're talking about, editing everything, and it's like puzzle pieces, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
You have a bunch of 5,000 different digital puzzle pieces, and you're putting them together, and you're putting sound up with that. And I know you start working on it, and you start getting numb to it, right?
Mhm.
Think back to your first, Malcolm. I want to know your first aha moment in the movie. If you could expound upon the scene or kind of set it up as far as what it was that made you go, like lean back in your chair and go, man, that was fantastic. Like I really enjoyed seeing that because you're a film fan as well,
Right.
Mhm.
and Travis, we same echo the same sentiment.
Oh yeah.
Right.
I'd like to know what y'all's first wow moment was.
That's a good question.
That is a
Damon.
good
Yeah.
question. So I would say the tow yard scene.
Yeah,
I just can't get past the delivery.
yeah,
Just how the emotional roller coaster through that whole
Yeah.
scene. I think if no budget independent films, first time actors could win an award, that one deserves an award.
Yeah.
And that could be biased, but I will
Well,
say,
I think that in cinematography,
yeah.
the drone, the overhead shots, and
Yeah.
and the
That
wood scene.
montage scene
Yes.
Yeah.
with the
Yes.
music.
Musical score. You don't have to win best overall. You'd love to, but you never know. A small category, and it's all about putting your name on the map.
Yeah.
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 But I would just say as an just an all around performance, although I think all of it's good, but when I got to the tow yard scene and just how it was, both of y'all, just both you and Chris, just the way the interaction was, I thought,
I gotta jump back in to what Malcolm was saying, that tow yard scene. So it was one of my favorites. Even listening to the energy of the audience without giving any spoilers away or anything like that. Like Damon had that perfect line and set everything up, and the energy in the crowd when that line was said,
They was like,
the they all felt it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
felt it the way when I first seen it,
Mhm.
because that I looked at Damon and I was just like, when we was watching the edit, and I was like, he nailed it. This
Nailed
is
it.
believable.
100%.
And then another scene, without giving away any spoilers because it's towards the end. I don't want to mess it up for anybody, but there's another line that he delivered. It made me feel like the first time when I watched this movie, Young Guns. Like, it was just Jake. I don't know where he got this sound effect and musical score to amp it up and get that energy rising. And then Damon just lays this perfect line. And when it said, and it was like chills. And I was like, it's gonna be my most quoted line out of this whole film when we can actually start spoiling stuff.
Right.
So and I even told him before while we was sitting there waiting to get in, I was like, dude, these are my two favorite scenes from you.
Mm.
I knew it was a powerful line in the table read.
Yeah.
And we had changed that line.
Yeah, we did.
We had changed that line.
We-
and I remember saying, no, he wouldn't say that. He would say, I think he would say this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we got really, we talk about 4 or 5 takes,
Yeah.
the table reads. We're getting really morbid on how, how far we want to push that line, so
Right,
to speak,
right.
and still make it look like it's not, once again, overacting.
Yeah,
Right.
but it was so strong when it came out, and like I
Yeah.
said, you could feel the energy from the crowd as soon as he said it, and it's like everybody had a gasp, and
Yeah.
it was just like, and then all of a sudden you see Chris's face. It's like, yeah, bro, you just got owned, son.
yeah, he did. He turned
And
like,
you could hear the
Yeah.
whole audience just
Yeah.
they loved it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
What do you what like as you're watching it? I know you it's your first time, and you're kind of like, what stood out the most to you when you was first, like, okay, here, let me reiterate the question.
There's so many things.
When
There's
you
so
was
many things
watching
that stood
it, at what moment did you go, okay, this is good, like, this is good? Like, how early in the film did you realize it was better than what you expected?
out. I haven't totally digested everything yet. I want to watch it again, where I'm not as hyped up, right? And I keep saying right, which is stupid. So I there was one scene in particular that really I get really excited about, and it was during the poaching scene when the poachers are getting shot at, the exchange of gunfire
Yeah.
back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say too much about the film.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was a ramp up to the poaching scene, or if it was a culmination, or that scene in particular, because Zach really shocked me on his character on the porch. Effortlessly smooth.
Yeah.
You're having a conversation. He's not reading a script,
Mm-mm.
and that's what made it amazing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times I just did not go with script at all, and I would ask you, what points do I need to make? Which is difficult, because sometimes when you're working with another actor, they need you to say a certain line.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
That
they're
is
waiting
true.
for that word.
They're
at the
waiting
end.
for 3 words to say, you need to say these words. I'm like, I have to say these words? Yes, you have to say these words. It's going to make me say something else.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
go, okay. All right.
Well, so quite a few people came, and they was like, "Look, I don't think I can say this and be believable. Do you mind if I say
what it was for me.
something
Yeah.
else?" It
Yeah.
was.
That's what it was for
And
me.
what was the thing I said? As long as you stick to what the conversation is about, to where if y'all, just for an example, if y'all are dialoguing together, you can change it as
Yep.
long as it doesn't change what his response could be.
Right,
yeah,
Right.
right,
Because
right.
now because you're changing something, I don't want you to feel like you have to change
Right.
something to keep up with what you're changing, because we do need to move this story forward.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
like one of my
Yeah.
main objectives.
Yeah.
Not having any wasted space.
Right.
Right. I
Right.
need the movie to keep moving the story forward.
We were talking about the first scene, the diner scene.
Mhm.
I was practicing those lines. I really was. And I called him and I was like, Malcolm, do you care if I switch it up? Like, for me in my mind, the way that it was written, I didn't feel like I was going to be. For me, you got to sell your character.
Mhm.
You need people to believe your character, and I didn't. I didn't necessarily believe in myself that I was going to be able to sell my character the way those lines were written.
Yeah.
And I even asked him, I said, is that going to mess up Damon? He said, nope, Damon's going to be a complete bro about it.
Yeah.
You're thinking about a guy reading words on a paper.
Right. Right.
You got to be the guy
Yep.
that they're talking about.
Right.
You can't think about reading. I'm going to read these lines and I'm going to say these lines. You're
Yep.
thinking about a guy reading words.
Yep.
Right.
Can't do
Right.
that.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was what, I mean, every take I did was, I just felt like if I was going to memorize what was on paper, it wasn't going to be believable.
Well, if you were terrified inside, you
Mhm.
didn't show it at all
Mhm.
in the diner.
Yeah.
Because we talk about feeding off that energy off
Mhm.
each other.
Yeah, I was good by then,
Yeah.
because I had it all, I knew what I was saying, you know what I mean? And then like I said, you in that diner scene, I love the way you put that together, by the way.
Yeah.
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 The reactions between us,
Right.
just again, believability.
Mhm.
This whole thing was believable. We followed it. Like, again, the music, just,
Mm-hmm.
even the beginning of the movie, to the lead up, like it was fun music in spots.
Yeah.
Like it set the tone and the mood you were in that theater, in that scene.
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah,
want
'cause
to I want to ask you a question. What was your wow moment when you watched the movie?
Y'all are probably going to laugh at me or think different of me, but it was definitely, it was right away. So listen, I do not ever get nervous about anything. My wife hates me for it. Like she's like, I'm getting ready to do this podcast. Monday was my first podcast. Are you nervous? No. I go figure. It's just like,
right. That's what
so,
I'm saying.
and
Yeah.
but like when we got to Shuck and Shack at 4:00, it set in, and I
Yeah.
got nervous.
Yeah.
And for the first time in a long time, I was nervous.
Yeah.
And I walked into up until walking in, sitting down, seeing everybody come in. When the names started showing up on the screen and everybody started cheering for them, I was like, all right, we're
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're good. Because
Yeah.
we had the
Yeah.
energy.
Yeah.
We had the energy. So like I like, right, because again, I was a part of this process of editing this film. So I knew, what was going to happen, all that kind of stuff. But my biggest worry was, how was everybody going to
Yeah.
respond? So my moment, I'm sorry, maybe I'm, fooling myself here,
No.
was right off the bat when everybody was in there just ready to go. They
Yeah.
were ready.
In the diner scene. In the
Uh,
diner scene, or everybody ready to go to watch the film?
when he started playing the opening credits.
Okay. Yeah.
Everybody,
That's when it
somebody's
all
name would come
culminated,
up.
yeah.
Everybody cheer. Another
Yeah.
name would come up.
Yeah.
Everybody cheer.
Yeah.
And it was just,
yeah.
It was
like,
electrifying.
yeah, it was. It
Yeah.
was. So I was like,
Right.
all right, we're good. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And again, it's just, I don't really remember at what specific time during the movie.
Yeah.
So many times, the montage scene,
Yeah.
when that thing came on and that song came over those speakers, and that aerial shot of everything.
Oh yeah.
Your scene with Mrs. Simmons.
Mhm.
Oh my goodness.
Right.
Yeah.
On the back
Oh.
porch. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what kind of, was that reggae music?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean,
Original beat.
hilarious.
By
yes.
Ace, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
Ace. Yeah.
Oh man, I just, it was like, oh, this is a feel good scene right
Yeah.
here. You know what I
So-
mean? And then it was laughing, and then the diner scene. That whole thing, the way it went down. I thought that the whole movie, man, B Mob in the movie.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
funny as all get
Yeah.
out.
So you talk about your aha and your wow moments.
Mm-hmm.
You both talked about the tow yard scene.
Yeah.
And how I delivered a
Yeah.
certain part of the script. you talk about the overhead shots and the way the scene's set up and the way we interact the conversations. It's interesting that actors, we appreciate the cinematography.
Yeah.
When we're talking about the diner scene, the rookie leaving the camera, and the little trick you did with the showing that you left the camera, fantastic.
Yes.
That was an aha moment for me.
Yes.
Like, man, this is like a real, like,
Yes.
this is pretty cool. This editing work,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
He
And-
put a lot of thought into
Right,
that stuff.
and then
Yeah.
and then seeing the warden's truck drive down the highway with a drone shot over it. Man, if they had to resell that, that'd be good footage.
I will say, I will say, the game cam when it says, let's hope he didn't leave the trail camera this time.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And when you said, let me guess, you forgot the trail camera. At first, I just had it split screened,
Yeah.
yeah,
and y'all on both sides. It kind of came together. And I didn't really like it, but I really had no other idea of what I was gonna do. So
Right.
I was kind of sitting on that one. And then Jake's like, bro, I got an idea. He's like, just try it. This is how Jake always approaches me, because
right.
a lot of times I'm like, he has really good ideas, but a lot of times I'm like, yeah, but if we do that, it's gonna kind of mess this up. So he's like, just try it. But I got a good idea. When they say left a trail camera, you should put a trail camera on somewhere and just get a shot of it or whatever, and like push in, right?
Yes.
So I was like, all right. So I set the scene up right in my house, everything, and then I tried the push in thing. I'm like, all right, that didn't work. So let me just do like a wide and then a straight punch in straight to it. And I was like, look, bro, this is what I came up with. I couldn't do the push in, so I did a wide and a straight shot. He goes, I got a sound idea to do. That's when he put that. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? And it
Yes.
kind of just like brought it together.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
was like, I'd hate admitting to Jake that he has genius ideas. I was like, bro,
Yeah.
that was a genius
Good
idea.
old Jake.
Good old Jake. He came
Yeah,
through.
bro, he
Yeah.
comes in clutch.
Dude,
son.
so he like really said
Yeah.
that, like that was his idea. Like, bro, just try it. So whenever I was like, all right, dude, I did it. I wasn't really happy with it because I couldn't do the push in that he was talking about. And I could picture what he was thinking.
Mhm.
It just didn't, it was too quick of a time. It just wasn't working. So I tried that thing, and he's like instantly, he's like, I got a sound idea already.
Yeah.
He's like, so
Yeah.
when it came together, I'm like, yeah, that was a good
Yeah.
idea.
And
So-
those little things right there are the scene builders to what makes it a great movie.
right.
We had 1,000 of those throughout the movie. These little things that made you go, "Oh, that's really cool."
Right.
And then you're feeling like this is a real movie because you're accustomed to seeing those things in a
In
real
other
movie.
movies.
It's just not
Right.
some two guys with camcorders
I-
running around the woods.
Oh, yeah.
And you know
Right.
what? You know what I think the coolest thing is he was talking about, people came in with low expectations, and I think that, like, you can't help but think of how many people had that moment too
Yeah.
while they were watching the
Yeah.
movie, when their moment was.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, everybody walked out of that movie. Like, let's talk about after the movie, right? Like,
Yeah. It was ecstatic.
after the movie, like, we hung around after the fact, right? Like, there was supposed to be a Q&A afterwards.
Yeah.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
Everybody's just
Listen.
excited to go.
Listen.
Like, and
Listen.
they weren't leaving.
They weren't
They just
leaving.
wanted to hang out
Yeah.
with us,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
so we did, of course, we did the raffle off at the end of the night, but
Mhm.
and there was just so much, pictures on the red carpet and all that kind of stuff. What was your favorite moment after the movie? Maybe, how about this? Your favorite compliment?
My favorite compliment after the movie. Man, yeah, there were so many of them, but I have to say I loved it. I guess this is gonna be my favorite compliment because it was the most compliment. Was way better than I thought. I just loved hearing that. I
Right.
just loved hearing that
Yeah.
over and over. Way better than I thought. I'm like, good.
Yeah.
Because I already knew people wasn't expecting anything story-wise, the comedy landing, the action, like in their head, it was going to be a cheesy sci-fi movie
Mhm.
with two guys in the woods with camcorders.
Right.
It's exactly what
Right.
everybody pictured.
Right.
Because when you told them when you tell them I made a Bigfoot movie,
Yeah.
I
and
think
it's
that
about
they pictured,
podcasters.
Ye of little faith.
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
pictured the
Ye
most
of little faith.
cheesiest
Yeah.
Bigfoot
You're exactly right.
costume.
Yeah.
They
They pictured a found footage
cheesiest.
film.
Yes.
They
Yeah.
pictured the cheesiest Bigfoot costume.
Right. They're just like, yeah, that was another question. Like, so how good is the suit look? Bigfoot suit. And I'm like, no, you have to just watch the movie. So like afterwards, it answered people's question, and I think they was just blown away
Yeah.
by the results. And I think that was my favorite comment over and over. The honest people that was honest and was just like, dude, it was way better than I thought. Like we said earlier, they felt bad that they was going in already expecting something so low, you know. So I think that was my favorite comment. I'll say my second one is how much compliment I got on the acting.
Yeah.
Everybody's acting, how believable it was. And even though that was y'all, I was still like, dude, here's the thing. I didn't care what anybody that didn't help with the movie thought.
Yeah.
I really didn't.
Right.
That's why I think I wasn't nervous. I wasn't nervous because the people that didn't help, and no offense, but it's just they're gonna have their opinion because they've never made a movie, right?
They don't know the pressure.
I was looking at it two ways. One, I just hope that whoever helped make it and is on screen, they don't feel like I made them look stupid, right? I didn't want to embarrass anybody.
Right.
And two, on the other side, I wasn't nervous that they wouldn't like it or y'all wouldn't like it because I'd be like, it was my first one.
Right.
So piggybacking off of that, I got to point it back over here to David. I know we've done a lot of films together, things like that. Did we finally earn your trust?
Yeah. Oh, listen. You earned my trust with 8 awards. At
No,
the jump cut challenge.
because I'm gonna pick. I was hoping that would trigger this because I'm gonna stick another knife in them.
Oh my God.
It was 9, not 8. When I watched the episode, I was like,
Oh, wow.
I got to think of a question to bring this up, and hopefully it triggers it. Yeah. No, it was 9.
Well,
So many
I
that the
stopped
mayor
listening
of
at 3.
so many that the mayor of Ocala is like, you guys just don't leave the stage.
Just stay up.
We had to
Yeah.
stay on the stage because
Right.
we would get an award and come back and sit down.
What was that mayor's name?
Crazy.
Who was that? Was the old guy?
Kent
right?
Gwynn.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mayor Kent Gwynn.
Yeah.
Good dude.
Damon will never forget it.
I'll never forget
But I
it.
had to set the
You
record
learn.
straight.
You gotta learn. You gotta learn.
So
learn.
there was also something that came up after the show. I want you to talk about it. We had some random people that found us online. We had our producer Chaz, who was on the show. Did a lot of promoting, like all of us. Shared it on Ocala 35. What was it?
352today.com, I believe.
And
Nice.
2 ladies reached out to us and wanted to come to the event.
Right.
And we welcomed them. It was cool, right? They came to Shuck and Shack. Malcolm introduced them to everybody. I mean, they felt like guests to everybody, though, right? Like, they were like, it was our guest. It was, Chaz's family's guest. Like every family that was there in relation to us, they were guests of ours. Like we welcomed them in, and they came and they watched the movie. Malcolm, after the fact, they texted you. Can you read that text message?
Yeah, I'll read the text. So, and what's cool is I'll tell the whole story is she called because she came across the website on one of the things that Chaz had put our website on.
Wait. We have a website?
Yes.
What can we get at the website?
TheBigHammock.com movie.
Ah, okay.
The digital.
This is the lead up to it, Damon.
the digital download. So when she called me and left a voicemail, it was just like, so I called her back and we was talking. She thought it was very cool. She wanted to come and check it out, support. So she showed up to the pre-celebration party and everything. Shout out to Miss Terry. And this is what she texted me after the movie. Congratulations on a wonderful premiere. I really liked the movie. Everyone seemed to really enjoy it. I liked all the different scenes, places in the woods, and restaurants. I also liked the drone shots up in the sky. I thought all of you did a wonderful job. By the way, when we spoke a couple weeks ago, I asked if you were going to submit the movie for some film festivals. I went to a few of the films a few weeks ago for the Ocala Film Festival. I met the lady who is in charge of it. She's a professor at CFCC. I can give you her name and number if you would like to contact her about getting in the Ocala Film Festival next time. Maybe even the Florida Film Festival. That's how good I think your movie is. Please tell all your friends how much I enjoyed the movie. Take care. Have a great weekend. Terry Avik.
I have a few people that ask me after they see the film to say, "So where do we do from this? Where do we go? We're going to enter this in a film festival, or are we going to go and just say, hey, thanks for coming out and
Oh, no.
using it as a launching pad?" Just for the viewers watching, what's next?
A producer's job's never done. I've already been on it. So I already got the page started to start getting us into film festivals and stuff like that. I already pre-did it. Me and Malcolm's talked about it a couple different times. And it's just like, I told him, I was like, we got to hustle this. We got to do our own promotions. And I was like, a producer's job's never done. So in about another couple of days, it'll be up and ready for festivals to start screening it. Now, it's a little late in the season. Not a problem. I've already had multiple films in festivals, so I already started shooting some emails and getting stuff ready. So,
Sweet.
yeah,
Excellent.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Excellent.
So
Zach, that means you might want to get a T-shirt.
A Big Hammock
A
T-shirt.
Big Hammock T-shirt, or just not the same garb you wore. Like, we'll have to go out of Marion County for the next one, probably.
Perfect.
I'll wear a
Yeah,
full
maybe.
suit on this one.
Hey,
You might have to wear a tie. You might have to wear a tie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look, this ain't my first rodeo,
Yeah.
and what I mean by that is I've been told plenty of times, or been given trouble, or been given grief
to get dressed.
because I dressed down at an event. I thought
Right.
I looked good.
You did. Listen, hey, it works. It works. Keep it.
so
it works.
I guess entering it into film festivals that doesn't
Mhm.
hinder us from still like selling DVDs,
No,
and Blu-rays.
No, we're keeping this all 100% independent. And the one thing, that's why I've talked to you about it a lot of times. We're gonna have no distributors. We're gonna self promote. We're gonna cut that middleman out. Now it's gonna make it tougher. I understand that, but we can control everything at that aspect.
Right.
So even though we had the premiere, don't let that freak you out. When we go into film festivals and stuff like that, they're not looking for a premiere to happen.
So the festivals that you're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
you've obviously entered films into the festivals
Yeah.
before.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
we're talking about doing our own, we're doing our own
Yeah.
distributions. All
own
that.
distribution.
So the big distribution is digital copies.
Yeah, and the cool thing about that is, I love what you're doing with the website. You can go on there, you can rent the movie, you can purchase the movie, and do it that way. And again, you don't have to have that. You don't have to have that person that you got to hand over all your hard work to. That's just gonna laugh and take 20 other films, make all the money, and then send you $25 at the end of that quarter. So we can control that. But with controlling stuff like that, we got to think about the business side of everything. There's a reason why they call it show and then business. We did the show. Now we got to do the business. Collectively, I know we can all do it. And like I made a promise to Malcolm as a producer, like I'm going to push everything. It's one of the reasons why I love this podcast so much. That's why I went out, got us on Spotify, things to keep that word of mouth and everything going. I've already sent out a lot of emails that I haven't even showed Malcolm all of the emails yet, but I reached out to art house, film theaters and stuff like that. So that's a little different with what we're doing independently. So like the bigger theater chains and stuff like that, they won't touch a lot of the independent stuff. But when you're thinking outside the box with art house theaters and stuff like that, they love people like us and what we do. And that's another way just to get it out there. The film festivals, it doesn't matter if you win awards or anything like that when you're in a film festival. Film festivals help you get that name recognition out there, and that's more traffic to buy more DVDs, buy more Blu-rays, get that merch out there. So you just got to keep creating that wheel and keeping it going out there.
I know it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not
No, this is not an easy thing to do.
But I tell you what, it's a lot of fun.
It is
a
It
lot
is.
of fun.
It is.
It is a lot of fun.
Right.
It's fun when everybody's taking it just as serious as you too.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's even
Right.
funner when people, the
Right.
like-minded people are taking it just as serious.
Oh yeah.
If you learn to respect how hard it takes
Mm-hmm.
for you to do your job,
Mm-hmm.
it motivates me to make sure I do my job.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
You're
Because
exactly
if I don't do a good job, you guys got to work twice as hard.
right.
Mhm.
Right. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I think that makes it easier. That's why like a lot of scenes were easy to kind of put together because you could tell how hard
Mhm.
the majority of the actors work to develop their characters on their own.
Mhm.
It's less directing I really had to do because
Yeah.
they're already coming up with your own ideas.
Yeah.
Little things, just little things that just help the whole scene altogether. Just little moments of movement, little
Right.
all those
Right.
things
Right.
actually does make my
Right.
job easier.
I could
Absolutely.
absolutely imagine some of those scenes took a half day or even a day just trying to get everything lined up with the amount of people you had in the
Yeah.
take and just making sure that it all looked right from each angle, right? You shot each scene from different angles,
Oh yeah.
and then to your point, being in those days where things went well, and you walked away from that shot and said, "All right, boys,
Right.
good. See y'all
Right.
later."
Yeah.
I don't
yeah.
know. I think we're gonna do a GoFundMe for a chiropractor for you
For
because
the-
you carried a
Yeah.
lot of
Oh.
people a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
A good leader will do that though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I had a goal, and I always knew, even with the people that took it as serious as me, I still in my head was like, this is my passion. It's not theirs. They're doing me a favor.
Mhm.
I had to remind myself a lot of times. They're doing me a favor
Mm.
because there would be things that would happen, and other people like, man, you're not mad about that? I'm like, dude, we'll work around it. That's why we
Yeah.
started calling ourselves Plan B Production because
Mhm.
it's like they're
Right.
doing me a favor.
Right.
I have, I have no control over what it's, we'll rewrite the scene. They're not here.
You told me I was voluntold. You didn't ask me.
You're
for a
the
favor.
only one that
Yeah.
didn't get asked for a favor. I was
You
like,
got no options, bro. You need to be here.
Yeah. Listen, I got an idea. I need you to
Yeah.
be a game warden. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. What's the script about? Well, I haven't written the script,
Right.
but
right.
I know there's going to be a game
Are
warden.
you in?
Are you in?
So, yeah. All right. Sure. Here we are. Who would have thunk it?
Who would have
Yeah.
thunk it, man?
Not me.
And now here we are.
Yeah.
So from the first time I asked you about that, right,
Mhm.
to now, to after the premiere, what was your thought process then to now?
I can't believe how old my daughter is. It's been a long time.
Damn it.
It took forever.
Yeah.
We're moving forward with
Yeah.
the film festivals, digital copies, DVDs, Blu Rays. Is there anything else that you want to throw a plug in on regarding the future of the Big Hammock, Malcolm?
Well, just like the digital streaming and everything on the website, thebighammock.com, you can go to the menu bar where it says VOD. It's available for rent or for purchase. And then we'll have DVD and Blu Rays. Obviously, if you reach out, even if you're out of state, we might be able to find a way to ship it to you, depending on whether how complicated or not it is.
It'd be $20 plus shipping.
Yeah. And then,
$30 plus shipping.
and then later on we'll have some other outlets and ways to go. But right now it's a lot better if we just push the DVD sales, Blu-ray, getting all that traffic to the website, and then later on we'll hit you with a little bit of razzle dazzle and some surprises.
Right. So if anybody wants to help support, obviously the best way would be to purchase the movie.
Right.
That's the best way,
Because independent filmmaking is a little different. Once the
Yeah.
movie's made, then we have to do the big thing to
Yep.
get it bigger.
Right.
Whereas people are saying, "Oh, the movie's done, so we're
Yeah.
done." No. Now
No,
we need
we-
really to
Right.
We need the
promote it to
fans'
the next
help.
level. Yeah.
Right. Now
we need that word of mouth.
Right. Now we have the product.
Yeah.
We're trying to
Tell your
push it.
friends, moms, sisters, dads, tell them all.
Yeah.
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 Go get your movie. We need it in every laptop computer across Marion County.
goodness.
No Xboxes.
Or so. Yeah, something with them
Yeah.
Xboxes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
we're working that issue. That's
Yeah.
what I heard. So
Yeah.
if not, Watch it on PlayStation.
There you go.
All right, gentlemen. Well, look, I'm still coming down from
Yeah.
last
Yeah.
night.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
It's a feeling you can't describe. bro.
Yeah,
It's
and
incredible.
It definitely left me speechless. I don't know if y'all can tell.
Mm-hmm.
A little more quiet this
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
this podcast than the last ones. I'm just still
Yeah.
completely blown away from everything. But thanks again for
Oh, yeah.
coming on down and doing the Big Hammock podcast. And
Absolutely, man.
till next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
All
you.
right, we're
All right.
out.
Thank you so
Appreciate it.
much. Appreciate
Nice.
it.
Thank you.
We're out of
Yes,
here.
sir.
We're gone. Sayonara.
Boom.
Adios.
See you later.
Get
Go
them
take a-
VOD sales. Get them Blu-rays and DVDs.